Welcome into the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. I had the pleasure of reading an amazing book over the weekend, and I want to tell you guys about it. I was actually quite excited to read this book. I've been sitting on this book for months, and I've been kind of thumbing through it over the months, but I really dug into it again over this past weekend. And I tell you, it's a little bit challenging, as Bob Dugoni will attest. He sees behind me a bunch of wrestling belts. The WrestleMania that was this weekend. But nothing was going to take my attention away from A Killing on the Hill, which is an absolutely fantastic book, which weaves and winds its way through Seattle Depression era. And we'll jump into the story here in a moment. It's got, of course, murder and intrigue, and it involves a little bit of the press, which I love stories that involve the press. And we'll talk a little bit about the newspaper era in Seattle and the West Coast in particular. And we'll talk about why the fascination with involving not just the court system, but the newspapers as well. And we'll get down to that with Robert here in just a second. Robert Dugoni is a critically acclaimed New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, and Amazon charts best-selling author, reaching more than 10 million readers worldwide. He is best known for the Tracy Crosswhite Police Procedural series, which is an excellent series, by the way. He is also the author of the Charles Jenkins Espionage series, the David Sloan Legal Thriller series, the Kira Duggan Legal Thriller series, and several standalone novels, including the Seventh Canon, Damage Control, and The World Played Chess. His novel, The Extraordinary Life of Sam Hell, was named Suspense Magazine's 2018 Book of the Year, and Dugoni's narration won an Audiophile Earphones Award. The Washington Post named his nonfiction expose, The Cyanide Canary, a Best Book of the Year. Several of his novels have been optioned for movies, and the television series on top of it. Dugoni is the recipient of the Nancy Pearl Book Award for Fiction and a four-time winner of the Friends of Mystery Spotted Owl Award for Best Novel Series in the Pacific Northwest. He's been a finalist for many other awards as well. Bob's books have sold in more than 25 countries and have been translated in more than 30 languages. He's currently living in Seattle. This new book, A Killing on the Hill, folks, absolutely amazing. Let's welcome him in to True Crime Tuesday, Robert Dugoni. Bob, thank you so much for being on our program.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for the very kind introduction.
I tell you, I absolutely love this book. I love it from beginning to end, and one of the things I love about it, not just the fact that it's set in the Depression era, and in an era that I think we tend to skip over a lot when we deal with today's history. I mean, a lot of people don't want to go 100 years back. They don't want to deal with that era because I think to today's day and time, I think our society can't relate to it, is one. But two, I think it's an era that is not romanticized enough, because it does sit in poorer times, and we like to fantasize about, and we talked a little bit before the show about how much is enough. We like to romanticize glitz and glamour. We like to have our head in the clouds. This wasn't a time where the head was in the clouds. A lot of people were struggling. And you do an excellent job of showing exactly the haves and the have-nots during this time in A Killing on the Hill. Let's just talk a little bit about the inspiration for this book and what drew you to this time period and drew you to these characters.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about, basically the Great Depression followed on the heels of the Roaring '20s. And that was the romanticized time. That's when everybody was, the United States was coming into its age and its glory, and there was money and there was, all this stuff flowing and things were going so well. And then bam, right? The stock market crashes in October of 1926. And we're in the midst of a really, really difficult time in a lot of people's lives. Ironically, there were the haves and the have-nots in that period of time. As many as we had people living in Hoovervilles up here in Seattle, Washington, which was named after President Hoover, who could not get us out of the Depression. We had people sneaking out late at night in furs and diamonds and tuxedos to these supper clubs, these speakeasies. So, it was a period, Tim, that I didn't know a great deal about. I read The Boys in the Boat, which is another book that has done extremely well and takes place during the same period of time. So I was home one day, and you and I were talking about stuff before we came on. Well, I was trying to get rid of stuff in my attic, and I found these two, very large books that look like, almost like photo album types. I opened them up, and there were all these newspaper clippings in there, dozens and dozens of them. And I started flipping through them, and I started finding a recurring legal case. And so I went down and I said to my wife, what is this? And she said, those are my grandfather's scrapbooks. And her grandfather, in his early 30s, in 1933, was the attorney that represented a man by the name of George Moore, who was accused of killing a lightweight boxer in his nightclub. And the nightclub was called the Pom Pom Nightclub, and it was located on what was called Profanity Hill.
Wow.
And that's all I needed to see. A murder at the Pom Pom Nightclub on Profanity Hill, and it becomes the trial of the century in Seattle. And what was so fascinating back then was the newspapers would print part of the transcript of the trial and what people were wearing, what people were saying. And it was just this flashback into a period of time where people didn't speak the way we speak now, where people went to trials. It was like entertainment. They would show up in the gallery in their best suits, the white gloves. I mean, you name it. It was a go there to be seen. And of course, it was the Great Depression, so everyone was in on the take. Everyone was trying to find a nickel, earn a nickel, scam a nickel off of everybody else. So it was really just a fascinating trial taking place at a fascinating time in an area that was not written about very often. I was really surprised that I was not able to find more about Seattle during the Great Depression, during Prohibition. And I was really lucky to have all these articles so I could get a flavor of what people were wearing and how they were talking. And then I had a great a librarian here in Seattle help me out. Street maps, names of restaurants and, businesses and on which street corner, et cetera. Because, when you write a historical novel, it's fiction, but you want to make it as historically accurate as you can.
Sure.
And I've already had a couple of, older people who read advanced reading copies, email me and say, oh my God, I remember taking this bus. I remember this counter where I could go get a cheese sandwich and a strawberry milkshake. And so it's a fascinating period of time in our country.
I love the fact too, you named clothing stores. You name, like you said, you named the fact that William Schumacher, the newspaper reporter, he's jumping on trolleys. He's jumping on things that are actually in the city at the time. And I can imagine that these older people are reading this and going, hey, wait a minute, I have to remember this, or that had to have been there. Yeah. The fact that he gets a suit from a particular clothing store, I'm thinking that had to have been there. I don't know for sure because I don't live in Seattle. I've been there once. I can tell you that. I loved the city when I was there. But when you mention the market and you mention different things, you can put yourself there. Anybody who's been to Seattle can imagine modern day, but you can almost age the city and put yourself in the city as you mention it there. I want to ask you about a few things in the book here, Bob, and we'll get to that here in the second part, because there are some very interesting little tidbits you drop in there, and it's almost like there's a lesson, almost for modern day media, that you drop in there, little narratives that you drop in there, and it's almost subtle. It's not a knock over the head, but and you do this through the main character, William Schumacher, or Shu as you call him, as a nickname throughout the book. And it's almost a don't let these different people who are creating the news lead you by the nose and make the news. It's almost it's almost a tome for modern day. You know, it's almost a lesson for modern day.
Yeah, it is. So in Seattle at that period of time, if you were covering the police, you could not get a press badge unless it was given to you by the chief of police. So the newspapers were sort of embedded with the police department. And that was important because what takes place in the book is actually how it used to be. The detective would call up their favorite reporter or and they would say, "We got a murder at the Pom Pom nightclub on 10th Avenue. Do you want it? I'll be there in 10 minutes." Mm-hmm. And so if you didn't cooperate, if you wrote stories that weren't necessarily beacons for the police department, you were at risk of losing your press badge. And, in a depression, that means you're at risk of losing your job.
Yeah.
So, much like today, there was a lot of politicalization of the news. And so William Schumacher, who is this 19-year-old kid that gets a job from Kansas City because his mother has got on the phone and called a relative of a relative because she doesn't want him to join the army because of the shenanigans going on in Europe. He shows up in Seattle at the Seattle Daily Star working for Howard Fishbaum, and this story falls in his lap. And he thinks it's his ticket to, fame. And in reality, what he starts to realize the more he covers this is he might very well be a pawn. He might be being used. And luckily, his employer, his editor, Howard Fishbaum, is an old newspaper man. And while he wants to entertain the reading public by what everybody is wearing and what everybody is saying, he doesn't want to sacrifice the artistic and the honesty and the integrity of his newspaper. So it's a really interesting dichotomy that Shu is facing. Make a living to take care of your family, but also be careful about crossing lines that might get you, kicked out.
And there really is an angel and a devil sitting on Shu's shoulder throughout the book. We'll talk about that here in the second part of the program, because it's funny how things work in this world, and how it looks like you may have an ally, and it turns out that ally really is your enemy when you start to think about things. And you are really being led around by the nose when you think it's really you in control. And that's the beauty of this book, is that you think you're in control and you think things are going good. It's just when you think, that things are going good, that things are not going so good. And that's really the beauty of this book, in the story that you've put together here, Bob, that it is such an amazing story.
I think in raw naivete, and he's just trying to do his job. And I think every single one of us has been in that position in one form or another. I was a young journalist at one time working for the LA Times. I was a young attorney, and found myself involved in a very big case, way over my head, but wanting to do well and wanting it to sort of be a springboard and everything. So we all have ambition, and we all have a desire to be able to take care of our families and those things. But we all also have that inner voice that begins to tell us something's not right here. Something is not right here. And none of us like to be used, right? None of us want to be used. So Shu has that. He does. And at the same time, he's an interesting choice for me for being the protagonist. It wasn't my first choice. I thought I was going to write from the perspective of a young defense lawyer, mm-hmm. which was my wife's grandfather. Mm-hmm. And this kid, William Schumacher, kept interjecting himself into my consciousness, saying, let me tell it because I can tell it with a broader point of view. I can tell it from the perspective of the defense. I can tell it from the perspective of the prosecution. I can tell it from the perspective of the judiciary. And I can tell it from the perspective of the participants. Let them see it through my eyes. And I'm so glad that I did, for all the reasons that you've talked about.
It's and with that too, it's almost it becomes a more interesting story in that fulcrum of the reporter having to play both sides and having to figure out the story on his own without giving too many spoilers, without having to figure out all sides and who's playing what side. It allows the story to unfold naturally. And I'll give you this for pacing. You've got the pacing down perfect for the times. A lot of times people want to rush into the story and they want to, unfold things quickly for our time, because we are very much a attention deficit disorder type society where we need things quickly, spoon fed to us quickly so we can move on with our day. This very much is a pacing of the time. You do a beautiful job of unfolding the onion and the layers at the pace of the time.
Yeah, what was really sort of a luxury, if you will, for me was I didn't, Shu didn't have cell phones. He didn't have computers. Mm-hmm. And I'm old enough. I'm at 63 years of age. I'm old enough to remember when I would be a lawyer and I would send out what I called a stink letter to another lawyer. And I'd have 3 days before I got his stink letter in reply. Nowadays it's you send an email and within 10 seconds you're going back and forth. So when you write a historical novel, the setting is a character in the story. And I think it was a slower time. It was a time where things took longer to develop. And at the same time, I think it was a time when people did stop to read the newspaper. And the newspaper did tell them what was going on in their city at that period of time. Businesses were closed on Sundays, and so there was more time for people to interact with each other rather than what we have nowadays, which is we're interacting with computers.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell you what, let's take our break here. When we come back, let's get into the story. Let's talk a little bit about the characters that are surrounding William Schumacher. We've talked a little bit about Fish as editor, but we'll get into the gist of the plot. And we'll talk a little bit about what this is that we're dealing with and what was this killing that kicked everything off and why the players aren't exactly what they seem to be. Folks, the book is amazing and it's available right now. We've got a link in the description of the program. The book is called A Killing on the Hill. Our guest is author Robert Dugoni, and I encourage you to get it during the break. It's an absolutely fabulous book. You're going to love it. You're going to sit down. You're going to enjoy it. And you're going to get right into that Depression era Seattle. And you're going to eat this up. You're going to fall in love with Shu, and you're going to fall in love with his circumstances as well. We're going to tell you as well about Shu's life outside of just the case, because Shu finds himself away from his home in Kansas City. He as Robert had said, he has basically his mother has sent him to Seattle in hopes of avoiding the war or avoiding the service. And he's made a new life in Seattle, but he's also, let's just say he's surrounded himself with a new family. We'll put it that way. And we'll talk about that family as well when we come back. Like I said, the book is A Killing on the Hill. It's available right now from Thomas and Mercer and Amazon Books. And we will, when we come back, we'll talk more about Shu, the circumstances around this killing, and the characters around this killing, and let's just say the new family around Shu. We'll do that when we come back right after this on the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. Welcome back to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Our guest is author Robert Dugoni. The book is A Killing on the Hill, and it is available right now by Thomas and Mercer. We have a link to it in the description of this program. And again, I encourage you to go get this book, folks. It is absolutely wonderful. When we left you, we were talking about our main character, William Schumacher, Shu, as he's known by his nickname in the book. And we're talking about how he's drug into these circumstances that begin the book. Now, obviously, Shu isn't the straw that stirs the drink, so to speak. Bob, it's more the catalyst that starts this is a killing, obviously, that happens in this pom-pom club that we've talked a little bit about to start this off. But what exactly happens with this killing that starts everything off?
So I think more than anything, people were enamored with how everyone else was living. And, given the time period, the Great Depression, nobody thought people were actually sneaking out at night, dressed up like they would in the Roaring 20s, and going into these nightclubs and being served and leaving on their plates, almost full plates of food, steak and potatoes and vegetables and salad and cocktails, while people were starving. And in addition to that, they were gambling. They were playing craps at crap tables. There was orchestras. Negro entertainers is what they were called back in that period of time. Mm-hmm. So it became, when this story broke, what it did was it brought front and center this world that the average person in Seattle or in the United States knew nothing about. And so what you have is a man at 6 a.m. being gunned down in this nightclub. The police get word of it. Shu gets word of it. They show up there, and there's a body. And there's 5 guys standing there, all dressed in suits and ties and coats, like they're getting ready to leave. And the owner of the club is there. And he comes up with this story about what happened. And the chief detective, true chief detective, his name in the book is Ernie Blunt. He was a real detective in Seattle at that time of their famed homicide division, along with a guy named Luke May, who was nationwide known criminologist. They began to look into this, and what Shu, who's embedded now with the police, and he's going to these witnesses and he's hearing them speak. They all begin to realize that what they're being told is a crock of shit. I mean, it's completely, nothing is making sense,
right?
At all. And what really begins to unfold when they begin to sort of figure out the real story is that this owner, George Moore, he's gonna plead that he shot this guy, but he did it in self-defense. And it was one of the first cases in the United States that really brought up this new defense that you could kill somebody if you felt threatened. Mm-hmm. So, it's just like you said, it's like an onion. And, Shu is there as the onion begins to be peeled back. And as he begins to realize that, nobody is really telling him what happened. Nobody is really telling him the truth. And then, the ending is also a true story. It's one that I combined and I mixed together, but it's a true circumstance of another story that took place back then. So just a lot of, I wanted the reader to feel like they were Shu. Mm-hmm. They were there trying to figure out what really went wrong here, what really happened, and it's just I thought he was just a great protagonist for that period of time because he was stunned by what he was witnessing. All the food, all the glamour, all the glitz, because he himself is starving. He can only eat 1 meal a day. That's all he can afford.
Yeah, when we first meet Shu, he's staying in a boarding house. He's getting the 1 meal a day from the lady who's running the boarding house, and she's a little what's a good word?
Crotchety.
Crotchety, that's a good word. And she's a little adversarial. That's the word I was looking for as well. Not quite sure what this kid is up to, this 19-year-old kid, until she starts reading the headlines that he's writing about this murder. And there's then she starts to warm up to him and realizing, oh, I might have a little superstar on my hands underneath my roof. Then all of a sudden it's, oh yeah, okay, then I think I might take to this kid. I understand that he's got some drive. We find out that Ernie Blunt is also, as he's taken this kid under his wing, so to speak, he's spoon feeding this kid and saying, hey kid, I think I got a little something here. And maybe he's training this little junior detective newspaper guy and saying, hey, I got a little something for you for your newspaper article. I got another scoop for you. Here's a little something. Hey, let me show you a little trick here and there. And you think, hey, this Ernie Blunt guy, he's a pretty nice guy. But is he?
Right. And, it's sort of what people have to remember is there was no social media back then. Right. And so everything was going to be printed in the newspaper. And so that's what the police and the politicians, that's who they would play to, because that's where the information to the public was going to be found and going to be understood. It wasn't coming from the internet. It wasn't coming from social media. It was coming really only from the newspapers. And so that was the avenue that the politicians and the police were using in order to get out what information they wanted to get out to the public. And again, it becomes fascinating because you have that line that newspapermen had to straddle, which was to get the news out to the public, but to try to make it, honest news, truth, and not be manipulated.
Yeah, it was one of those things where at first I think, Shu walks in, he's walking in a little blindly thinking, I'm in control of this. I'm getting these facts. And then all of a sudden he realizes that, hey, you know what? As Fish, his editor, sits down with him and keeps telling him, don't let the story come to you. You go get the story. And don't be spun by these guys.
Well, he becomes a little bit of a celebrity, right? I mean, all of a sudden the woman at the boarding house is, enthralled with him, and she's got the newspaper for him every morning, and she's so excited to talk to him. And people in town, the newspaper man is calling out to him as he's walking down the street, and he's got a little lift in his loafers, right? I mean, he's feeling pretty damn good about himself. And it translate into this romance, this young woman that he's always been very fond of, Amara, and going into her bakery, her family's bakery, to get a coffee and a bun, and he starts to sort of believe the press, if you will. Mm-hmm. And then he begins to realize, this is not what I thought it was. And then, to Shu's credit, what I will say is he doesn't cave, and a lot of 19-year-olds would have caved in that type of a situation, but he's got some real gumption to him, and he's got some strength to him. And that's what I really loved about him as he developed for me, was he was not somebody that was going to be, taken for granted.
Now, Shu does keep his eye, and like you mentioned, he does keep his eyes open. And one of the things that's beautiful, and the other sub story to this is that he does meet Amara, and they do fall in love, or they're starting to fall in love, and this romance is blossoming. And it's almost like this beautiful subtext to the book is, as he's falling in love and he's blossoming there, he's also blossoming as a reporter. And his eyes are opening. As his eyes are opening to love, they're also opening to the way the world is. And it's a beautiful parallel. And at that, he's also seeing, well, wait a minute. Things aren't always as they seem. I'm being told one thing, but I'm being shown another. And
and it's very much, what he sees when Joan Day, Joan Daly, she's a prostitute. Mm-hmm. But she's kind to him, and she's gentle with him, and she seems to be someone that's being honest with him, and he sees her in one perspective as a young man might, and he wonders what it would be like, etc. But then he has those moments when he sees her without the makeup, and it's sort of like what you're talking about, the veil being lifted, And that's really what happens throughout the story is this veil begins to lift, and he begins to see people for who they really are, and he begins to see things for for what they really are. And that's important for the story.
And what's interesting here, Bob, is there's this narrative that keeps playing out in here, and it's almost like a subtle message. And as I'm reading it, I'm getting the message that kind of plays out, and you're using the media in it brilliantly. That really it should be reported the way it should be reported. It put out what the facts are, and don't put out what is being spun to you. Don't report the spin, report the facts. And it's hitting me over the head like a bat, a bat to the skull. So it applies modern day as much as it does in the 1920s and 1930s.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The difference is back then, the newspapers were entertainment. And so Shu's being told, get the story, but don't forget to tell us what all the attorneys are wearing and what the witnesses are wearing and how they sound and it's entertainment. Give me the entertainment. What Fish says, pizzazz, right? Give me the pizzazz, Shu. I want pizzazz, but also give me the facts. And now what we have in our time, my time, your time, present day, is we have news. And the people are saying, give us the facts, but don't forget that I own this newspaper. I own this television station, and this is my opinion, and this is what I want. And we're seeing that hard line drawn in politics translating into the media. Mm-hmm. If you watch one station, you're going to get one perspective, and you turn on another station, the exact same story, and you get a completely different perspective. Right. And the same is true of newspapers. And it's because they have become politicized. So you're right, Tim. I mean, they're not that different.
Yeah. And there is that entertainment value too. I mean, depending on what you're watching, depending on what you're seeing, the entertainment value is there too. I mean, not only are you getting the political slant, but you're getting the rah-rah as well. You're getting the, hey, what are you wearing? Hey, what are you doing? Hey, what do they look like? I mean, perfect example, you talk about political fundraisers. They're there covering the political fundraisers with the celebrities that are mixing it up with them. And a lot of the parallel you're drawing with the clubs and the famous people that are mixing it up with the gangsters and this and that and the celebrities of that day is the same thing 100 years later that we're dealing with now. It's a lot of the same thing. It's celebrities, political people, ne'er-do-wells, we'll put it that way, are all still mixing together. Nothing's changed in 100 years, Bob.
No, it really haven't. It's just different, right? I mean, back then people were scrounging for every nickel they could get. And, Shu can't blame them. He can't blame the shoeshine boys for trying to make an extra 25 cents a day if it's going to help their families. And we hear talked about all the time today about, something like 7% of the world's population owns 95% of the wealth, mm-hmm. And so there are a lot of parallels that can be drawn. I think the thing that is also really so fascinating, and what I loved so much about writing this story was the world, was the universe of characters in which Shu is dealing with, and many of them are real people. They were real. All the witnesses at the trial were real people. I did not make them up. Mm-hmm. There were some that obviously I did for novelization purposes, but it just becomes such a colorful tapestry of that time period. Fish is not who he seems to be, even. And so they're just it to me, it was just so much fun to write this book, and that's really what I wanted the reader to get out of it. It's a historical novel, but there's an element that's really, it's a puzzle. It's they're trying to put this puzzle together. What is going on here? And I hope readers find that and find it fun and intriguing.
So let me ask you this: with the release of this, are you expecting any blowback from? I mean, it's been 100 years. Keep that in mind. But are you expecting any modern day blowback from any of this that you're reporting?
No, I'm really not. I mean, everybody that was alive back then is dead. That's what almost 100 years ago, and they were in their 20s and 30s. And the other thing is that I did change a couple of names, only because it's never my intent to bring any embarrassment to any family members that might have lived on, and that kind of a thing. But no, what happened. It's in the newspapers. I have those clippings,
Sure. Yeah.
So no, I'm not worried at all.
Well, that's a good thing. I mean, it's a very entertaining story, and like you said, the fact that it's all based on real happenings, real stuff. It's amazing, you don't have to go very far back in history to find things that will absolutely shock you.
Yeah, I teach the craft of writing, and I always tell my students, we're writing about ordinary people who find themselves in extraordinary circumstances, and how are they going to react? The Boys in the Boat, which is a book that has very much parallels with A Killing on the Hill. It's the story of these 8 nobodies, these 8 guys that were just guys, poor, living in Hooverville. I mean, and yet they get together and they can row, and they find themselves in the Olympics against Hitler's Nazis, and they win a gold medal. I mean, and nobody knew their story. Nobody. And, Dan Brown gets a call from a guy and says, I was out on a walk with my neighbor, and did you know her father was one of the guys that rowed in the 1936 Olympics? Well, people remember Jesse Owens from the 1936 Olympics. They don't remember the Boys in the Boat, right? And this is the same thing. This is a moment in time that at that time was the trial of the century that nobody knows about. Nobody's even heard of nowadays, right? And I got to wonder if in another 70 more years, are people going to know who O.J. Simpson was? Are people going to say, oh my God, that was the trial of the century? Well, was it? Or was it just a moment in time where ordinary people found themselves in extraordinary circumstances and had to react? And that, Tim, that is exactly what World War I was and World War II. It was ordinary men. Tom Hanks sums it up really well in Saving Private Ryan. He says, I am a 6th grade math teacher. And he finds himself in Europe leading a group of men across war-torn Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, there are so many stories like that out there, fascinating stories. And, my job as a writer is to bring those stories to life.
Man, you hit a real nerve there, Bob. I've had deep conversations like this with different people at different times where you talk about how will I be remembered, or who will remember me, and what does it take to be remembered for all time, and what will it take to be remembered in 100 or 200 or 300 years, and you think about, what does it take to be an all-time great? What does it take to move society?
Yeah.
And you're right. You're absolutely right. When you say something like, was the OJ trial the trial of the century? You think about, the fact that happened in, what was that, 93?
Yeah, it was long. I think we just celebrated something like the 30th anniversary,
yes, 30th anniversary
or something.
Okay, so already crazy. 30 years ago, it still is a big enough scar or imprint on society that it feels fresh. But like you said, in 100 years, will that even be on society's imprint? It's interesting to see what sticks with society, especially like I had mentioned before. It seems like we're very much an attention deficit disorder society. We move now from topic to topic.
Yeah, I can tell you, some stories that are, will really bring this home for your listeners.
Please.
Down in Palm Springs, there are streets named for Bob Hope and Frank Sinatra and other people. And young people now, they don't even know who they are. Young people now will say, who is Bob Hope?
Oh.
Right? Well, wait a minute. Who was Frank Sinatra? Right. And so I think it's a good reminder for all of us, Tim, that we're just really not that important. That we lead a good life and we do the best we can to take care of our families and all those things. And those are the people that remember us, and those are the people whose hearts we'll touch. But beyond that, the Abraham Lincolns and the Mother Teresas, those are few and far between.
That's right.
For the rest of us, it's just all about our lives lived. And in this particular instance, it's about William Schumacher's life lived. Mm-hmm. And he happens to be at this place, and this story falls in his lap. And how's he going to handle it? How is he going to rise to the circumstances that he faces himself? Because he didn't have a choice. He could not lose his job. Losing his job meant possibly dying, right? Because he's going to starve. So he had to rise up. He had to do what he needed to do to tell what was happening.
And in his case, you've extended his notoriety to another generation, which is admirable. I mean, it's hard to think, your name may go on for another generation or two, but to extend it beyond that, it's tough.
Well, and it's not unlike when you get that first book published.
Yeah.
And you go into a bookstore and you see your name on the spine. And you say, okay, you know what? I have a legacy. It may not be, it's a great, but I have a legacy, at least something. And, that's all great. But then after a while, you begin to realize that's not what it's about. What it's about is just telling stories, which is what I love to do. I love to tell stories. I love to create characters, and I never write for a theme. I never write to try to beat people over the head. I just let the story tell itself, and I hope that people are entertained by it.
Well, this one, Bob, is extremely entertaining, and I think people will find themselves enthralled by it. I think they'll enjoy it. I think they'll be transported back to a time when not only were things simpler, but they were more complex at the same time, that things weren't always what they seemed. And it was really, you had to live by your wits and by the seat of your pants in order to survive. And I think people will absolutely love it. I think it's one of those rare trips back in time.
Yeah. Well, from your lips to God's, right. I'm hopeful as well.
I think they will, and I believe they will. And in fact, I want people to email me here, tim@darknessradio.com, once you pick up Bob's book and read it. I want to hear what you think about it as well. Again, name of the book is A Killing on the Hill. It's available right now by Thomas and Mercer. We have a link in the description of the program. I want you to go get it right now. Read it, get back to me, and let me know what you think about it. And I'll pass it on. I'll pass it on to Bob and let him know as well. And by all means, you can also comment on our social media as well. And let us know what you think about the book. I loved it. I want you to read it as well and get back to us, because I absolutely enjoyed it. So, Robert Dugoni, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I truly enjoyed it.
Thank you. Folks, it's time now for us to lighten things up a little bit. It's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals.
It's Crayon News story time.
What happened with this dude, Christ Bearer? I heard he cut his penis off and then jumped off a balcony.
Suspect pulls gun from butt, shoots twice at Denver police.
What is your emergency?
I need help.
And what's the problem?
I'm too high.
You're too high?
Yeah.
Well, it's a Tuesday. It's Dumb Crimes, Stupid Criminals. We're all still here after the eclipse. That's a good thing. Let's bring in our co-host. It's a co-hostess with the mostest, Mally Fox. Hi, Mally.
Hello.
I know I started it off kind of odd, but that's because I think we're all feeling a little odd after the eclipse. We'll get to the dumbness and the criminality here in a second. I'm addressing the eclipse with you here because tomorrow we have Jessica Freeberg. I almost said Jessica Fox. Dear God, I'm amalgamating the two of you. Jessica Freeberg will be in tomorrow with Supernatural News. So we'll deal with the eclipse here with you today because I want to share your thoughts with it for just a second here before we jump into Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. We were talking about it here just off air, just for a brief moment. I'm a little alarmed by how people treated this thing. It's just an eclipse, folks.
Oh, it was quite the spectacle.
You can fly anywhere around the world every couple of years and see one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here, if you want to stay locally and see one, sure, it's going to take you 20, 30, 40 years to see it. But in 2 years, you can fly to Iceland and see one.
Mm-hmm. I do like Iceland.
Yeah. Iceland or Spain. And you can see one. It's 2 years, folks. That's all you got to wait. And you can have that same experience again. I
mean, I liked seeing the little kids excited about it.
Yeah.
And every shop I went into had the glasses.
Mm-hmm.
But it was almost like when Facebook first came out and everybody was taking pictures of their food.
Yes.
It was like every other photo or post I saw was the eclipse or someone doing a selfie of them wearing glasses or, it was just a little bit overkill almost.
If people went to find spirituality, they went the way they went to find the eclipse today, and we're recording on a Monday. If they would do that, this world would be much better off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
right.
I sat and I was watching a couple different networks to see what the reaction was, and people were like, it was so beautiful, it was so gorgeous, I didn't know there was so much there, and there were people weeping and I was like, really?
Wow. Yeah, where they like drove like miles and miles to get like the perfect view, and then it would be cloudy. I think there was some big festival going on in Texas.
Yes. Yeah.
And that got canceled because of severe weather. But
yeah.
Everyone went there for the viewing. So, I mean, I don't know. Or the people, what I got a kick out of was the people that were like so superstitious, where they're like, I'm not even going to look at it. I watched it last time and all these bad things happened for 6 years. So I'm not going to look at it this time. I'm staying in my house, closing the curtains. It was one extreme or the other.
And then the thing I loved is, they were going at different news organizations were going to different spots. They had reporters in different spots of the nation. So you had some on the East Coast, you had some in the heartland. They called it the heartland in Indianapolis. And so they would have an astronomer with them. They would have someone from NASA with them. And then the astronomers, oh man, this was get your rocks off time, boys. The astronomers had what we like to call the eclipse Woody going for all 3 minutes that this thing was happening. And, and a lot of these astronomers, they travel from eclipse to eclipse to eclipse. Mm-hmm. And boy, when they were providing the play-by-play for this thing, it was, you would see the corona. And then, of course, when you take it, they tell you when to take the glasses off, right? When you had totality, you take the glasses off and you can see everything. You could see all the planets and everything. And all of a sudden, when you reach totality, they were reaching orgasm. And it was...
With my luck, I would have taken my glasses off too soon, and I'd be like, my eyes! I would like burn my...
You'd know when to take the glasses off, because when it was time to take glasses off, these astronomers, they shouted like they had won a winning bid at an auction. Boy, it was something to behold.
Wasn't CERN supposed to go today as well?
Yes.
Weren't they supposed to start that up?
Yeah, CERN was supposed to look for dark matter or particles or whatever it was they were looking for today. They were supposed to kill the world today was the deal.
We're still here.
Well,
along with my debt.
Yes, along with my debt. Yeah, we were supposed to jump timelines today. I think, Mally, is what it was. Yeah.
I'm still here. Same timeline.
Or is it? We might.
It feels like it.
Does it? Well, or do you feel different? I've had a weird day today. I've had a different day today, so I feel like maybe we're on a different timeline already. Yeah. I'm just saying. I think CERN fucked us up again. Pardon my language, but I think it happened. I'm just saying. I don't know.
I feel the same.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wah, wah.
Well, it seems like even though we may have jumped timelines and everyone's worshiping the moon now, criminals are still dumb.
Yeah, that's a given.
Yeah, that's a given. all things remain the same, and no matter what timeline we're on. And criminals are still dumb, and they're still doing stupid things. So we're going to cover that in Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. And we're going to start with a story that Jeff sent us today, having to do with a Georgia inmate who's serving life, and he mailed bombs from prison to a D.C. office building.
Oh, jeez.
Now, I struggled with this because in a way it's somewhat brilliant, but in a way it's completely stupid. Plus, it's completely stupid that officials didn't catch him sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah. A man serving a life sentence for kidnapping and other crimes while in a Georgia prison built 2 bombs, which he mailed to a District of Columbia office building and the federal courthouse and building in Anchorage, Alaska.
Wow, he's going far.
Yeah. Well, he's what we like to call a go-getter, Melly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The accused bomb maker, David Cassidy, allegedly put the 2 explosive devices into the mail at his prison in Tattnall County on January 24th, 2020. Yikes. Now, this man serving the life sentence for kidnapping and other crimes while in that prison built those 2 bombs, which he mailed to a District of Columbia office building, the federal courthouse, and building in Anchorage, Alaska. The bomb maker, or the alleged or accused bomb maker, I should get the language right, 55-year-old David Cassidy, allegedly put the 2 explosive devices into the mail at his prison in Tattnall County on January 24th of 2020. That, according to an indictment issued by a grand jury in U.S. District Court in Statesboro, Georgia. The bomb that went to Washington, D.C. was mailed to the Bond Building, whose office tenants include the Department of Justice.
Wait, I thought they checked your mail in and out. Like in prison. I thought that they would look at all packages you receive and you send out.
You would think so. Maybe they don't do every single one. I don't know.
Maybe they're on lunch.
Maybe. The indictment alleges that Cassidy made and sent the bombs with the intent to maliciously damage or destroy by means of fire or explosive a building in whole or in part owned or possessed by or leased to the United States. I love the flowery language because it never commits.
Right.
You know? And he created substantial risk of injury to a person. Neither bomb exploded, by the way, in case you're curious.
So is a bomb maker just not a very good one?
Yeah, exactly. Cassidy is charged with 1 count of making an unregistered destructive device, 2 counts of mailing a destructive device, and 2 counts of attempted malicious use of an explosive. Protecting our personnel and facilities is a fundamental role of our office. Well, then you would have got it while I was in jail. And of our law enforcement partners, said U.S. Attorney Jill Steinberg, whose office is prosecuting Cassidy. We also will take action against inmates who seek to commit crimes and harm the public from behind bars. Again, like Mally pointed out, you would have got it from the jail, not when it got to the building. Barry Pascal, who is a spokesman for the U.S. Attorney's Office, declined to comment when asked to explain the more than 4-year lag between Cassidy allegedly mailing the bombs and being charged in the case. That's an
that is quite a time period.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Pascal said he could not comment on details of the case beyond those contained in the indictment. That charging document did not say how Cassidy allegedly made the bombs while locked up in prison, the size of those devices, how he mailed them from prison, and why he chose the DOJ headquarters and the federal courthouse and building in Anchorage as his targets. That is a weird target, the federal building in Anchorage, especially since he's in Georgia.
Maybe he has an ex-girlfriend that works there.
Oh, that's a good point. Hey, you should become a detective, Mally. A spokeswoman for the Georgia Department of Corrections said Cassidy was able to manipulate primarily items he was authorized to possess into makeshift explosive devices. He's a MacGyver behind bars. We appreciate the support of our federal partners in ensuring that justice will be served on this individual for his role in jeopardizing the safe operations of our facilities and, most importantly, the safety of the public, said the spokeswoman, Joan Heath. Cassidy has a long criminal record dating back to the late 1980s when he was sentenced to prison for 3 years after convictions for 6 counts of first-degree forgery. Corrections Department records show he began serving his most recent stint in prison in 1993 after being convicted of kidnapping, aggravated sodomy, impersonating... Yeah, I know. It wasn't just sodomy, Mally.
Right, aggravated.
It was aggravated. I wonder what you got to do in order to get aggravated sodomy.
I don't want to know.
I don't want to either, especially personally. Impersonating an officer...
Just put you first.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'll stand in the back of the line for that deal right there. I'll tell you what. That's just me. I'll tell you what. Oh boy. Volunteering for the aggravated sodomy? No, not so much. Just saying. Also, impersonating an officer and false imprisonment. Do you suppose he practiced the aggravated sodomy while impersonating an officer?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that.
Yeah. While in prison in Tattnall County, Cassidy was convicted of crimes in 2019, including terroristic threats and acts, false statements, gang participation, and conspiracy.
Oh,
he's a colorful one, this one is.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, we can't thank Jeff enough for the story.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Now we know that even if they're behind bars, the world is still not safe.
That's right. Speaking of not being safe, Mally, we move on to our next story. Oh, this is not going to make you sleep at night well either. Suspect and victims staged a robbery when an armed bystander stepped in. Here's the deal, Mal. Even when you think you're safe, you're not safe.
Okay.
We go to Houston, Texas. The Northwest Houston robbery that preceded a fatal gas station shooting in January was staged, that according to police.
Oh.
Okay. The Houston Police Department initially said a bystander witnessed Rashad Scott appearing to rob a couple at gunpoint at the gas station on Ella Boulevard near the Beltway on January 27th. He shot Scott as he attempted to flee. However, Houston Police Department has now said the couple and Scott were working together to stage a robbery so that the man and woman could file a report with the police and use their crime victim status to apply for an immigrant status or a U visa.
Oh.
So they're working together.
Yep.
To get a little immigration status. So nobody needed to be shot. It was all just a little innocent ruse. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But all of a sudden, an armed bystander ruined the entire thing. The person qualifies for a work permit while they're waiting for a resolution of the case, immigration attorney Sylvia Mintz said. Police said they obtained text messages from Scott's phone between him and a man named William Winfrey the night of the shooting. In one message, Winfrey writes to Scott, "It's the usual gas station blank." Or shit. In another, he writes, "When you done run, make all the shit to look real." Right? Investigators said they also found a selfie from one of the purported victims on Scott's phone. Police said Winfrey and Scott staged numerous other similar robberies dating back to 2023 in a bid to help the alleged victims obtain visas. One took place at a Northeast Houston gas station on January 26th, in which Scott pretended to rob a cashier at the store. Mintz said U visas come up a lot during discussions with potential clients. They say, okay, what would happen if somebody beat me up or if I was a victim of domestic violence? And of course, the answer is, I cannot help you, Mintz said. Mintz added the schemes could backfire. if immigration officials learn someone has lied to obtain a U visa, they could be banned from the country permanently. People don't realize the big mess they're getting into by lying and making things up, Mintz said. ABC 13 was unable to locate any criminal charges against the people who claimed to be victims in the January 26th and 27th robberies. Interesting, huh?
Well, for pulling that stunt, I think they should be sent back to their country.
There you go. It's only fair.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's someone that's been shot. They were dishonest. Go back. You're a criminal now.
That's right. That's right. This next story was sent to us by Tony. Thank you, Tony. A Virginia au pair murder, a fetish plot, an affair, a gun range tied up into a double murder at a home, according to prosecutors. This one's a little involved.
Okay.
Yeah, there's tendrils everywhere in this deal. An alleged affair and a fetish website connection were revealed this week in the case of a Virginia au pair who prosecutors say was involved in a double homicide at the home where she worked. Prosecutors also said at a probable cause hearing on Monday that Juliana Perez, I believe this is Magales, and Brendan Banfield visited a gun range together before his wife, Christine Banfield, was killed during a double homicide at their home in February of 2023. Brendan and Perez Magalhaes is what it is, have said Christine was killed by a stranger named Joseph Ryan, whom they shot after Ryan stabbed Christine.
Oh.
Yikes. It's part of a bizarre story that led to a murder case against Perez Magalhaes, which a judge ruled on Monday can proceed to a grand jury this month, according to NBC Washington. Brendan said Perez Magalhaes have said that Christine summoned Ryan to her Herndon home on a website for sexual bondage enthusiasts to connect. Didn't know that existed.
Sure you did.
Oh, look at you. Yeah, in my spare time, I'm just looking for sexual bondage enthusiasts. I got nothing better to do. Brendan, who is an IRS Criminal Investigative Division agent. So that's what they do in their spare time. Told a 911 dispatcher that he shot Ryan with a service weapon. They have service weapons?
Oh, guess so.
IRS Criminal Investigative Division agents?
Well, because it's criminal. I mean, he's not just an IRS agent. He's a criminal agent, so...
Who do they have to shoot?
I don't know. Maybe they got to show up these houses and you never know if the other person's going to be armed.
Huh. So Brendan claims he shot Ryan with a service weapon after the fully clothed man stabbed the mother of his 4-year-old daughter, according to the Washington Post. While Ryan was on the ground, prosecutors claim Brazilian national Perez Magalhaes retrieved another gun from somewhere else in the home and fired the shot that killed him. According to court documents, she told police that Brendan instructed her to do so. Prosecutors who described Perez Magalhaes as Brendan's girlfriend and live-in lover said the au pair's lingerie and a framed photo of her and Brendan were found in the room where the stabbing and shooting took place. Well, that's an implication if I've ever heard one. Mm-hmm. But after a months-long investigation, the 23-year-old was arrested by the Fairfax County Police Department and charged with second-degree murder in Ryan's death. Brendan has not been charged with a crime, and no one has been charged in his wife's death. However, Fairfax County Police Chief Kevin Davis told NBC Washington that he expects that we will eventually be able to hold more than just one person accountable for this crime. I suspected from the very beginning, and I went to the scene of that double murder, that there was going to be a lot of twists and turns to this investigation, he told the outlet. The twists and turns are still ongoing. And whenever you're dealing with somebody who loves, bit of a joke. Bondage and twists and turns, Mally. That's the joke. It's a bad one. The Fairfax County Commonwealth... The Fairfax County...
I was just thinking to myself, if I ever get an au pair, it's going to be a guy or a very ugly person.
Yeah. Don't get
There's going to be no temptations in this house.
Yeah, no temptations whatsoever. Well, I'm not saying this one's ugly, but I'm just saying that this one isn't,
She looks like she would do naughty things.
Does she? Do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She does look like she's not saying she's she's not what's her name? With the umbrella.
Mary Poppins?
Yes, thank you. I don't know why I couldn't think of Mary Poppins at the time. But she's not Mary Poppins. Just saying. The Fairfax County Commonwealth's Attorney's Office is exploring the possibility that someone posed as Christine on the fetish website to lure Ryan to the home for the purpose of killing the IRS agent's wife. The account was set up on Christine's laptop, but messages on the fetish website between her and Ryan were inconsistent with her communication style, her loved ones reportedly told investigators. But at Monday's probable cause hearing for Perez Magalhaes, prosecutors focused on establishing the surviving Banfield's affair with the au pair accused of murder. Previously, Fairfax County Commonwealth's Assistant Attorney Kelsey Gill said Perez Magalhaes and Brendan began their relationship several months before the two deaths occurred, and that they continued that relationship after Christine died. Brendan and Perez Magalhaes purchased the Glock used to shoot Ryan on a trip to a shooting range on January 28th of last year. In court, Commonwealth Assistant Attorney Eric Klingen said the gun was used to eliminate the only existing witness. Gill previously questioned why Brendan only shot Ryan after he stabbed his wife several times, and has questioned whether Perez Magalhaes really shot the man at Brendan's behest. Ryan Campbell, the nanny's lawyer, said in December that his client acted in self-defense. He had just stabbed Christine Banfield, said Campbell. It seems perfectly reasonable that a second shot would be fired to make sure that he's not a threat to Brendan or Christine or Juliana. Campbell cannot immediately be reached for comment. Brendan invoked his Fifth Amendment right when questioned on the stand at Monday's hearing, according to WTOP. To date, according to the outlet, he has yet to speak to authorities about the fatal events of February 24th of last year. Brendan had no comment outside court on Monday, according to NBC Washington. I actually have the picture of the framed photo that was standing by there, Mal, when they shot the person in question.
Right.
That's a little eerie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's bizarre. Just bizarre. Again, thanks to Tony for sending that story in. That's a bizarre story. All right, we're going to get back to the dumb crimes and even stupid criminals. We've talked a lot about Walgreens in the last couple of weeks. Weird things happening in Walgreens. This is no exception. A man is arrested for an Easter Bible belting of a Walgreens worker.
Oh.
Yeah, this gets beyond absurd here, Mal. On Easter, the manager of a Walgreens store suffered a Bible belting because she was being rude, according to a customer who is now facing a felony battery charge. Police say that 35-year-old Peter Owens went to the pharmacy Sunday evening to purchase a pair of headphones. And yes, we're going to Clearwater, Florida for this story.
Oh.
Owens got into a verbal altercation while at the Clearwater, Florida Walgreens with an employee over the headphones. That, according to a criminal complaint. When the 36-year-old store manager, Nicole Merck, approached Owens and asked him to leave the Walgreens, Peter used the brown Bible in his hand and struck Nicole in the face one time before he exited the store. She was smote by the Lord, Mally.
Why would you bring a Bible into Walgreens?
Well, it's Easter.
Yeah, so? I would leave it in the car.
You never know when you need to, preach about the Lord on Easter Sunday in the middle of a Walgreens. I don't
Get
know.
on your little soapbox.
I have no idea, Mally. I'd never bring my Bible into Walgreens. Not that I bring a Bible into Walgreens anyways. Unless, I need to preach to somebody that I'm full of shit. And I need my Dulcolax.
Okay.
Just saying. After the alleged Bible battery, cops located Owens and took him into custody. After being read his rights, Owens reportedly admitted to striking Merck in the face one time with his Bible because she was being rude to him. I got nothing. Peter stated he did not mean to hit her. Well, then why'd you do it?
They always say that because they got caught.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to.
I didn't mean to do it. The criminal charge against Owens was enhanced to a felony count since he has a 2020 conviction in Michigan for assault and battery. It's not his first time smoting with the Bible, evidently. Or smiting. You smite and then you've been smote, right? Smiting and then smote.
I don't know.
I think. Owens was released from the county jail after posting $5,000 bond. Be careful when you hit things with the Lord's property. Mm-hmm. A judge has ordered him to have no contact with Merck, and he must stay away from the Walgreens outlet. What do you do if you have allergies? I'm just asking.
CVS.
Yeah, that's right. According to his Facebook page, Owens works as a golf instructor. Careful with that swing. If you're off, you get hit with the Lord's book. And is a Wayne State University graduate, a Grosse Pointe, Michigan native.
Fancy.
Yeah, right. Owens now lives in Ellenton, a Gulf Coast city near Sarasota. So there,
okay.
Yeah, he's moving on up in the world. So, yes, be careful with that backswing. You may get one in between the eyes with the good book. Just saying. We're moving on to moving violations now, Mally.
Okay.
We're going to traffic court, so to speak. Have you ever been wrongly convicted of a moving violation?
No, knock on wood.
Oh, well, thank you for knocking on wood. The day is young.
I don't have any around me, though. I'm looking.
There you go. There you go. This particular person was hit with a $105 speeding ticket while the car was in back of a tow truck.
Oh.
And the city even has the photo evidence. Which raises the question, if the actual car is on the back of a tow truck and you get hit with a speeding ticket, shouldn't that be rescinded?
I would think. Wait. So it's the tow truck driver that's speeding then?
Right. But
yeah.
But it actually took a picture of the plates of the car that's on the back of the truck.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
You could fight that, but if it's in a different state, it's like, do I really go fight it or not?
I don't know. Let's find out. A driver was shocked to find a $105 speeding ticket in her mailbox after her van broke down. The city sent the woman photographic evidence for the speeding ticket. Her defunct car, sitting on a tow truck, was still charged for an infraction when she wasn't behind the wheel. What are they doing? Joanne Gibson, the van owner, told Cleveland, Ohio ABC affiliate WEWS, the Woos TV. I am at the center getting this ticket and my car is on a flatbed. I'm not driving that truck. That's how they got the picture of the license plate. It was sitting on a flatbed. Mm-hmm. So 2 cars went through that stoplight camera and got photographed. Gibson said the van broke down on the side of the road on December 20th. She told the television network she was visiting her daycare center when the traffic violation occurred. I shouldn't be getting nothing like this. Nice double negative, she said. They should be giving the tow truck driver a ticket or the people that own the towing company. Gibson contested the fine at the East Cleveland Police Department, but she said officials told her to refute the fine with the private company that operates the cameras. She worries that she will have to pay more on car insurance because of the legal record. Went into the police department, pushing buttons, ringing the bell to find some help, she said. I don't want anything on my driver's license. So far, I have a good record, and I'm going to try and keep it that way. Twan Billings, the East Cleveland County president, told the station he was fighting for Gibson's ticket to get expunged. The vehicle was on a tow truck, Billings told the station. How many people did not see that before they sent it to her address? I feel like it's more of a money grab than it is a deterrent, Twan went on to say. Billings said he wanted the camera to be removed. He said the camera was mounted in an economically disadvantaged community. Well, that's interesting. City councilors had recently voted to remove the camera from the street, but it was still assigning tickets to drivers. I would like to see it removed. I mean, the law was already passed. That council voted for this camera to be removed, Billings said. Meanwhile, Gibson is urging drivers to look deeper into their speeding tickets and fight back. I'm kind of angry about it. When I get kind of angry, I want to find out what's really going on, and I think people should come forward and don't pay them, Gibson said. That's not right. They're going to try and charge me some money. Well, then what are you going to do with that money when you look at the ticket and see it's not right? Here's the deal, though. You don't pay the ticket, it's just going to advance automatically. So you don't pay the ticket, they're going to suspend your license, then revoke your license.
Right.
It's an automatic process. It's all automated these days. There's no human behind the process. So if you think you're just not going to pay in absentia and you're not going to pay due to protest, it's not going to help you.
Right.
You're actually going to have to go in front of a judge and fight it.
Correct.
Yeah. So just saying, well, I'm not going to pay it isn't going to do anything for you. So I don't know. You're going to have it expunged one way or another, whether it's in front of the police or in front of a judge. So.
Or how she was saying, they were saying, don't pay these tickets that you're getting because the council voted for the camera to be removed. Well, you're still speeding. You shouldn't be speeding.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You're responsible. You should be paying the fine. Not her, but I'm saying the ones that are guilty of speeding. You should still pay because you shouldn't be speeding.
Right. You're right. You're absolutely right. And there may be, as Mally's pointing out, there may be people who actually sped through those cameras who are guilty, who are now going to jump on the bandwagon and say, well, it doesn't matter whether I was speeding or not. Those cameras were meant to be taken out. You passed a law taking those cameras out. I shouldn't have been flagged anyways. Well, that's not the point.
Right.
If you did the crime, you do the time.
Right.
I believe it was Beretta who said that. So there you go. And now I'm dating myself. Also in traffic news, dumb crime, stupid criminals, we actually found a guilty one, Mally, that I think is finally being taken off the street, but it's much too little too late.
Okay.
We go to Long Island, New York, where a woman was arrested for driving with over 50 license suspensions.
Jeez Louise.
Sometimes the slow wheels of justice grind to a screeching halt. And in this case, it was a long screech. A Long Island woman was arrested on Wednesday for driving despite having over 50 license suspensions. That according to Suffolk County Police. At around 1 a.m., police noticed that 37-year-old... Okay, so she has over 50 license suspensions. She's only 37 years old.
I swear she didn't get jail time for having that many.
Oh, you're going to cringe when I tell you the rest of the story.
Oh, boy.
37-year-old Kaylin Snyder was busted around 1 a.m. driving a 2012 Jeep Liberty without a rear license plate. There was no rear license plate. That's that's the anchor on the vehicle right there. You got to have the rear. The front one's optional in some states.
Right. We don't have it here in Michigan.
You don't have the rear one, or you don't have the front?
We don't have the front one.
Yeah, exactly. But she didn't have a rear license plate. She was pulled over on eastbound Sunrise Highway near exit 58 in Shirley, New York. Don't call me Shirley. After further investigation, the officer found that Snyder had 52 license suspensions that were issued on 13 different occasions. That number boggles my mind.
And they arrest people for less.
That's right. People do jail time for less. 52 suspensions, 13 different occasions. They had to see her coming and go, oh, yeah, it's her again. We should probably pull her over.
I wonder if her dad's like some bigwig, and that's why she's gotten away with it. Like a small town, big name.
Gotta be. Snyder of Shirley was charged with aggravated unlicensed operation of a motor vehicle and will appear at court at a later date. Her Jeep was finally impounded. After 52 suspensions, they just now got her Jeep, Mally. Thank God. That's one of those stories you just go, really? Just now? You just now got it?
She sounds like one of those girls that'll hit and run. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like scrape up your car in the parking lot, but then take off.
Mm-hmm. I got to think that's got to be one of those 52 suspensions and those 13 incidences.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be. There's got to be hit and runs there. There's got to be DUIs there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't have a record in front of me, but there's just got to be every moving violation you can think of.
Right.
And she's still free. How they haven't buried her under the jail is beyond me. I don't know. We'll move on. We're going to your neck of the woods, Mal. We're going to Michigan.
It's not the movie theater again, is it?
No.
Okay.
No, but we do have an interesting story. We have a follow-up to one of those gross stories today in the Not Safe for Work section of our program.
Because I told Derek the other day, we were talking about there's this new horror movie coming out in April. Well, it is April, but there's a horror movie coming out later this month. I can't remember it. It's like a one name. It's a girl's name.
Yes, yeah.
It's not Annabelle. Abigail?
Abigail, yes. It's
okay.
Abigail. Yeah.
So we were talking about we should go see it. And I go, but not Southgate. MGM.
You don't want to catch a little something while you're there.
Ew.
Yeah. And literally catch something while you're there.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're following up on the Safeway story today.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. The little something extra in your food.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's an interesting twist to that deal.
By the look of your face, it's not good.
No.
You just look disgusted.
Yeah, I very much am. But it's news, so we got to cover it. But we go to Michigan, where, by the way, it's not safe to go to Chipotle anymore. Allie.
Man.
I'm just ruining all your haunts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I do like, is it Qdoba?
Yeah, Qdoba or Qdoba. Yeah.
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 I do like that place.
That was almost thrown in this story as well. A customer shoots a Chipotle worker over guacamole dispute.
Oh, I know. I saw that story. Poor person. I think it was a girl that got shot, wasn't it?
Yeah, we go to Southfield, Michigan, where a Chipotle employee in Southfield, Michigan was shot in the leg by a customer on Friday night. The shooting stemmed from an argument over guacamole. The shooting took place at a Chipotle in Evergreen Road near Civic Center Drive around 6:50 p.m. It was loud and then we all just ran out, said Michael Beals, who was the customer who captured the incident on video. I wasn't really thinking there was going to be a shot, but there was. The victim, a 21-year-old man, is in stable condition, according to a release from Southfield Police. He was transported to a hospital where he's being treated for a non-life-threatening injury. I was just eating a bowl and I heard shouting. And then I looked over. They're arguing. One of the workers went to the back. I don't know why. And then he was in the back. The customer walked around the counter, tried to grab his food and put it in a bag, said Thomas Huber, another witness. Then the employee came back and they started fighting. And then we heard a gunshot and just ran out as quick as we could. The suspected shooter is a 31-year-old Detroit man, according to police. He was located and taken into custody shortly after fleeing the scene. He took his time getting out, probably 30 seconds after the shot was fired, Beals said. I was in my car and I saw him just walk out to his car, close the door, and just drive off. He didn't speed off or anything. It was very weird to see. Bizarre. The Chipotle was closed once police arrived at the scene. People are getting more and more violent by the day.
They have less patience.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I agree that there is more violence.
I just don't get it. Over the weirdest things. Just
It's freaking guacamole. And you know what? If I was a worker, I would be like, fine, take the freaking guac.
Yeah.
To like shut the person up. Just go.
It's a side item that, hey, you know what? You can write it off. You know,
Right.
Write it off on a loss sheet somewhere, and don't bother taking a bullet. It's potentially harming your life. I just don't know why guacamole is worth potentially risking your life.
I don't like guacamole.
I don't either.
It's very bland.
That and it just
Mushy.
It looks like snot. I can't do it.
that. It's one of those foods that everyone's like, try it my way. You'll really like it. Like, oh, okay. Nope, still don't like it.
Yeah.
You know?
It looks
every time
like
I go to a Mexican restaurant, no, I don't like it. Try it. Okay. Ugh.
it looks like snot.
It's just, and everyone's like so crazy over it. Put it on toast, put it on this, put it on that. No, thank you.
No. No, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's time now for a Not Safe for Work edition of the program. Again, if you're at work, you're going to want to put in your earbuds, or you're going to want to turn this down real low so the boss doesn't hear it. You don't want to infect the other workers. You're going to keep your giggle to a minimum as well. If you're around the kids, why you've been listening to the show around the kids, I have no idea. You probably want to turn yourself into CFS. But you definitely don't want to hear this part around the kids, or let the kids listen to this part, as this is not safe for work. We'll give you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and here we go, Mally. I got a new side business for paranormalgirl.com.
Okay.
Should you need the extra biz or the extra money, although this mother and daughter team just got busted for it. So it may not be the ultimate side business. You might want to think of just, adding it to your repertoire. But a mother and an 18-year-old daughter just got accused of traveling the country to give illegal butt injections. I'm wondering what goes in an illegal butt injection. By the way,
Crisco.
Is it Crisco?
I don't know. I'm guessing.
Some people are using illegal tire rubber. They melt it down. I know there's all kinds of junk they put in that in order to inject it into the gluteus maximus. By the way, these ladies are putting it in their face.
Yeah.
Doesn't that look horrible?
Yeah.
These two look like they've seen the worst part of the sunshine, if you know what I mean. It's they woke up
I
on
wouldn't
the
trust them.
Yeah, they woke up on the wrong side of the bed. If these two approached me and said, "Hey, we've got a great injection for you," I'd say, "You probably want to pass." Yeah, I don't want any injection from you. It looks like you've been trying it on yourself. A mother and her 18-year-old daughter are accused of traveling across the country to give illegal butt injections for $6,000, Mel.
Damn.
Like I said, if you took one look at them, you'd probably go, I don't think it worked for you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, they're not the best advertising.
No. Police say that 56-year-old Consuelo Maria Dalbo.
And she looks older than that.
Doesn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, she looks probably about 10 to 15 years older. Mm-hmm. And her 18-year-old daughter, Isabel Dalbo, were planning on injecting an unlabeled brown liquid into the butt of a customer on Wednesday. Blech. However, what they didn't know was that the customer was an undercover officer. I wonder how far the officer would have took it in order to get the arrest. Do you think they would have actually took the...
No, because that's poison.
Mm-hmm. In order to get the bust. The bust they must. You know what I mean? Consuelo then gave Xanax to the officer to relax before the injections. I told you the undercover officer would go a little far, right? Mm-hmm. Well, see, the officer took the Xanax.
Yeah, but did they swallow it, or they just take it, and then that's a way you can arrest them?
Yeah, but the old trope about putting the cocaine on the gums, right? If you actually put cocaine on your gums, it will get you high.
Okay.
There's real undercover cops that tell you never put cocaine on your gums to test the purity.
Oh, okay.
Because you'd be...
I didn't know they were still testing the purity in their mouth.
They don't. They never have. That's a Hollywood trope. For movies, like when you see the Hollywood detectives,
where they put it like on the little tip of their tongue.
Yeah, they're like, I'm gonna test this, and they put it on their gums. There's no real detective that would ever do that. You'd be higher than a kite, especially if it was pure cocaine. You'd be bouncing off the ceiling. Well, I doubt that the undercover took the Xanax from Consuelo and swallowed it. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
If you did, you'd be out of this world, and of course you'd be taking a butt injection. Unless this undercover's already on Xanax, and it wouldn't have had any effect.
Stop.
I mean, you never know. Anyways, I digress. Let's get to the story. Consuelo gave the undercover a Xanax to relax before the injection. She was paid $6,000 in cash to do the procedure. The mother-daughter duo was arrested during the sting operation conducted by the FDA and the Houston Police Department. No word on if the undercover got a nice high off the Xanax or not.
I want to know what the brown liquid stuff was.
Let's find out. Maybe it's
Probably like cooking oil after they did their fries.
Oh, do you think?
They went to McDonald's afterwards and got the old oil from the back.
It was the peanut oil that Willie Nelson uses in his vehicles. Officers seized bags of illegal injectables and medical supplies. Both have been charged with unlawfully practicing medicine without a license. Consuelo was also charged with delivering a controlled substance called alprazolam. Not Pam, but alprazolam. I think that's a lyric to Black Betty, isn't it? It's, oh, Black Betty, alprazolam. I got to give myself one of those. While out on bail, Consuelo told KHOU 11 that while she isn't a licensed doctor in the U.S., she did attend medical school in Mexico for 3 years. So, she can do it in Mexico.
You can do it.
You can do it. Believe me, everything I do it with my heart, and everybody who knows me, they know me, Consuelo Maria said. I do it because they really need it and not just because they pay me. Mm-hmm. That's a direct quote, Mel. Prosecutor said the FDA is now in the process of testing the substances, so we don't quite know yet what it is. It might just be, I don't know, beef gravy. Consuelo's charges could be upgraded depending on the outcome of the ongoing investigation. So there you go. I don't know. If you had to choose an injectable to put in your butt, what would you do, Melly? I just realized what I said there.
It's okay. I thought about it like 5 minutes ago.
Forgive me, Mr. Fox. Okay, forget I asked the question. I know there's a lot of guys right now that want to know the answer to the question, but I'll retract it quite quickly.
Nothing gets injected in the butt. Nada.
Moving on.
Nope. Not even if I was drunk. Nope.
Oh boy. Anywhere else? I have to ask that follow-up. Anywho, we can move on to the next story. Cops are suspected. I can't even say the next headline. Cops say they suspect that a suspect. God, now I'm blushing. Cops are saying that a suspect requested a Facebook photo deletion during an arrest. We go to Pervert City. I thought we were there already. Where a perp was wanted for exposing himself to a girl at a Walmart store. It only gets better, Mel.
Okay.
An Iowa man is accused of exposing himself to, believe it or not, an 11-year-old girl. It gets sick. Oh. Yeah. He trailed through a Walmart toy aisle. Yeah, they're sick in Iowa. Mm-hmm. They called the cops and asked that a store surveillance He called the cops and asked that a store surveillance photo of him be removed from the police department's Facebook page. Can you believe it?
It's got some nerve.
That, according to a criminal complaint. The lewd act, investigators say, occurred 4 months ago at a Walmart supercenter in Iowa City. The child told cops that an adult followed her in the store, and when she looked over at the man, his genitals were exposed and he was masturbating. How sick. Walmart security video, cops say, showed the man following the victim out of the toy aisle just before the victim reported the incident to her mother and store employees. In seeking the public's help in identifying the alleged pervert, Iowa City cops subsequently posted an image from the video showing the suspect inside Walmart. And they got him plain as day. I have the picture here, Mal. Here he is.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They got him.
Yeah, that's not a bad picture at all.
No, I mean,
like it's clear, not bad. Like
No.
I'm not talking about looks. I'm talking
Right.
about like, that's clear. Like you can see who he is. It's not blurry or anything like that.
right. And they got a picture of him before he dropped his pants. Obviously,
Yeah, thank God.
Right.
not in the middle of his.
Right. He wasn't in the middle of the
Action.
act at the time. It's a picture of him as he was walking around Walmart. So, in seeking the public's help in identifying the alleged pervert, Iowa City cops posted that image. After the picture appeared on the Iowa City Police Department's Facebook page, 44-year-old Dustin Hills, in all his hubris, calls in to request that his photo be removed from the social networking site. The nerve. The complaint does not indicate when the call was made or if Hills identified himself by name. Police, of course, did not grant the wanted man's wish to delete the evidence. Good. Hills was arrested and charged with indecent exposure, an aggravated misdemeanor for which he is locked up in lieu of $5,000 bond. He's currently there. According to court records, Hills' rap sheet includes a 2014 conviction for indecent exposure, as well as convictions for theft, narcotics possession, probation violation, and possession of drug paraphernalia. In the earlier indecent exposure case, a woman spotted Hills displaying his penis and pleasuring himself while standing in a nearby apartment window. Hills, cops reports, admittedly accidentally displayed his erect penis to others outside. He claimed to be on an adult website at the time of the second incident. Yeah, I don't think so.
Nope.
Hills resides in West Branch, which is in Iowa City, about 15 miles from the Walmart. Not the brightest guy. No. So there you go.
And he has some nerve to ask for his photo to be taken down.
Right. Like he was like, so if you guys could be so nice as to take that deal down, we can call it a day. Just so happens when he asked for it to be taken down, they came and got him. So yeah, you ask for a little too much, you get a lot in return. So there you go. And finally today, Mally, on the big program, we're following up. You remember the Safeway story from Colorado? Were you on the program when we did that story?
I can't remember.
It might have been Jessica that was on the program when we were talking about the Safeway sicko. You remember the good old days up at Colorado?
Yeah.
Okay. And there was the Safeway down there, the bottom of the hill at the Stanley Hotel.
I don't remember the Safeway being there.
You don't remember the Safeway there? So you never went for provisions at the Safeway?
No, I just always ate out.
Oh, look at you, Miss Moneybags.
I just always ate the restaurants or went into town and ate the little restaurants.
Well, there was a Safeway there, and if we needed like provisions for the room, we would go to the Safeway that was right there at the bottom of the hill. There's a little Safeway grocery store there. And I would make a couple of trips per trip to the Safeway. And I remember picking up fresh produce at different times and getting different provisions. It turns out that, Safeway is a pretty big grocery store chain in Colorado. And there was a story a couple weeks ago out of Colorado that there was a employee of Safeway that, let's just say, took liberties at the grocery store chain. Thank God it wasn't in the Safeway that we attended or that we used, but it was in Fort Collins. Well, it was Fort Collins. Yes, it's Fort Collins. Yeah. So it's about 50 miles outside of Denver. Now, we were in Estes Park. Now, Fort Collins isn't that far away from Estes Park, but it's far enough. Far enough. Thank God, far enough. So the story goes, Mally, that there's a 32-year-old man, Stephen Masala, who worked for Safeway. And what he would do, let me just go into the story and you'll get the gist of it. Not the jizz of it, but the gist of it.
Ew.
Yeah, you're getting the idea.
Yeah.
When police searched the home of a Colorado supermarket worker, suspected in a series of 20 indecent exposure incidents, they discovered shocking videos showing the man, a registered sex offender, contaminating assorted food products with a bodily fluid, including a special order of cupcakes later consumed by children attending a birthday party. Mally, let's just say he didn't go easy on the sprinkles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean. The probe of 32-year-old Stephen Masalta. When I say probe, I don't use that word lightly. Is detailed in a court affidavit prepared prior to his arrest last month on dozens of felony and misdemeanor charges. Masalta is locked up in lieu of $250,000 cash bond. That isn't high enough for this case.
No.
It just isn't. The case against Masalta stemmed from a police investigation into a 5-month-long string of lewd episodes outside different coffee shops in Loveland and Fort Collins. Now, remember Loveland was just right over the mountain from Estes Park?
No.
No? Okay.
No, I don't remember that.
You didn't have to drive that time to go get all the Radio Shack radios to make the Shack hacks. I remember Loveland was right over
once.
there.
No, I drove twice.
Did you? To go get Shack hacks?
No, just from the airport to the place and back.
Okay.
But I wasn't like doing errands or anything like that.
Okay. A male suspect wearing a face mask or gaiter would appear in the pre-dawn hours outside a shop. Oh my gosh. And began masturbating in view of workers inside. At times, the suspect was seen recording as he exposed himself. This goes deeper than him just showing up at Safeway and spoiling the food. We'll put it that way. Okay? Surveillance video from some of the crime scenes captured a silver sedan in area at the time of the incidents. A detective concluded that the vehicle was a 2015 to 2017 Hyundai Sonata. A subsequent search of law enforcement and sex offender databases revealed that the 2016 Hyundai Sonata with California plates was associated with Stephen William Masalta, who resided in Fort Collins, a city about 50 miles outside of Denver. Masalta, cops discovered, was a sexual offender for installing hidden cameras in the women's bathroom of the New Life Community Church in Woodland, a Sacramento suburb. California police who arrested Masalta in 2015 alleged that he placed a phone inside a tissue box atop a toilet, and that the device, over a period of several months, surreptitiously recorded 14 women and 6 underage girls. This guy is sick.
Yeah.
Masalta admitted to a Woodland Police Department detective. The Colorado affidavit states that he masturbated to the videos he made, including while he was still inside the church. After placing an electronic tracker on Masalta's car, which showed him parking near Starbucks locations in Denver and Lakewood's Hello Coffee, cops executed a search warrant at Masalta's home on February 20th and seized 3 phones, 2 laptops, an iPad, and 4 flash drives. They also found a journal with Masalta's name on it where he discussed his sexual immorality, sex addiction, and deviant impulses. A search of Masalta's car the following day yielded 2 more phones plus printed images of women, some unclothed, from angles where it appears the women may not know that they are being photographed. Some of the photos contained handwritten notes about the women's physical appearance and how the writer wants to have sexual contact with them. Ejaculating penises were drawn on some of the images, Mally. This guy is just disgusting. Additionally, Colorado cops noted stains on the driver and passenger seats fluoresced under an alternative light source. Yes, indicating the presence of bodily fluids were also examined. An examination of Masalta's phones revealed a variety of vile videos. One clip shot on January 4th showed someone, presumably Masalta, masturbating and touching his penis to donuts in what appears to be a grocery store. At the time of the recording, Masalta worked as a night stalker at Safeway Supermarket in Fort Collins. He was previously employed by Starbucks and 24 Hour Fitness. He was working 3 places at the same time. The phones, cops allege, also contained evidence pertaining to Masalta's crimes at local coffee shops and videos showing a man masturbating and rubbing his genitals on food items at a grocery store. Products that came into contact with Masalta's seminal fluid and penis include strawberries in a plastic sale container, donuts, cupcakes, and a large bucket of commercial pastry frosting.
Ugh.
Oh. A Safeway manager who was shown screenshots told police that he believed the videos were recorded in the store's bakery and freezer areas. In one of the videos, police reported Masalta touches his penis to and masturbates on a batch of 12 cupcakes. The baked goods were a special order placed with the Safeway bakery by a female customer who requested extra sprinkles on the cupcakes. On an order label affixed to the cupcake container, a store employee had written, "Add Super Mario toys if we have." The woman had ordered a total of 24 cupcakes, and Masalta's video shows him contaminating one box of 12, investigators noted. The cupcakes were consumed at a January 28th birthday party for the woman's son, which was attended by 16 children and several adults. This is disgusting. Among the charges filed against Masalta are 16 counts of attempted sexual assault on a child, which is a felony. The cupcake special order label requesting sprinkles and Super Mario toys be included show the order was likely intended for children, Officer R.J. Tuttle stated. Multiple detectives worked to contact the families of the children who ate the cupcakes, since one of Masalta's videos showed a sexual encounter in a car with a naked woman, and his internet history included January 2024 searches for prostitution Denver, Colorado, and worst place for prostitution Denver, Colorado. Police contended that he may be at increased risk for contacting sexually transmitted diseases, which means he may have transmitted sexually transmitted diseases to children.
Yes.
He's next scheduled for a May 10th court appearance, and he could face additional charges, according to investigators. That's got to be one of the biggest cases of sexual abuse, I have to think, in U.S. history. It's just absolutely disgusting.
Lock him up and throw away the key.
And I showed Jessica, I believe it was, his picture, but this is his picture. I don't know.
You know what he looks like? He looks like they're not Mormon. It's that family of like 19 kids. The one that got arrested for it was like sexual something with a minor and a bunch of stuff. Oh, what is Duggar? Duggar?
Oh, yeah. The Duggar family?
Yeah, but you know how like the oldest son is in trouble for sex with minors or having pornography with minors or whatever?
Josh Duggar? Is that what his name was?
I don't remember what his name, but it looks like him.
It's true, he does. Yeah. Yeah, but just an absolutely disgusting story. The reason I follow up on it, I know people are like, well, it's kind of a disgusting story. It is, but the reason I follow up on it is because there's so much more to follow up on. And the fact that this wasn't just a random story that you hear about, in the news, that this was an actual sting that was going on, and that they had information about this guy, and they've been following him for months, and that this may not just be Safeway. There might be more stuff that happened at Starbucks and more that happened at 24 Hour Fitness.
Mm-hmm. Especially if he's hiding cameras and stuff in bathrooms.
Yeah. it's just, you're right, Mal. And in bathrooms and I mean, there's just, 19 kids.
Because he could have put cameras in the changing room at 24 Hour Fitness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there may be no ends to his depravity. I mean, are you talking about this guy right here is what he looks like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy has more hair.
Jim Duggar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what he looks like. Yeah. Sorry, I had to find the picture for Mally. It was driving me nuts inside my head. I was like, I got to find the picture. But yeah, look, he looks like Jim Duggar a little bit. So yeah, this Masalta character, disturbing to say the least.
Very.
And I think there'll probably be more developments as they start to unpeel the onion a little bit. It's absolutely disgusting. Want to thank Robert Dugoni for being on the program today. A Killing on the Hill is the name of the book. I encourage you all to get this thriller. It's an absolutely superb book. You're going to want to get it. There's a link in the description of this program. It's put out by Thomas and Mercer and Amazon Books. There's a link in the description, folks. Go get it. And let me know by email what you think of it once you read it. You can get it on your Kindle. You can get it also on hardback. It is, boy, is it something special. It is a great book. And it's based on a true story, Mally. Based on a true story. Based on, it was Robert's grandfather, I believe you said, grandfather or great-grandfather, who prosecuted the case. So
Okay.
There you go. Again, some of the names were changed to protect identities, but it's a Depression-era crime story that is absolutely fascinating. When you think, again, it's the angel on one shoulder, the devil on the other, and the angel you think you know may just be the devil. And it's an impressive story. So I want you guys to check out that story. Let me know what you think. What's going on paranormalgirl.com?
I knew you were going to ask me. Nothing. I don't have an update. I wish I did, but I don't. I got to get cracking on it. I just haven't done it yet.
No, that's all right. But stay tuned, folks, and keep checking paranormalgirl.com for updates. Strange Evidence is still playing and still going on, not only on Max, can you get it on demand, but it plays on the Science Channel as well, Mel?
Mm-hmm. Yep, and Discovery Plus.
And Discovery Plus.
Things,
all those places. So check out our own Mally Fox on the Science Channel and on Max. If you don't have Max, we have a link in the description of this program where you can subscribe to Max. And you can go check out Mally for yourself on demand. So there you go. I am not at KNSI this weekend, so don't look for me. I was there this past weekend.
Got a little break for a Saturday?
Yeah, every other Saturday, So this Saturday, I don't know what I'm up to. Probably chasing the chipmunks around the yard. Logan is afraid of me now. I don't know what the deal is, but he's gotten fraidy cat syndrome in his second year, so I got to break him of that. So I don't know. I'll probably be chucking peanuts at him this weekend, just to get him more brave. I don't know. There's a way you break chipmunks. Breaking Chipmunks. That'll be the name of my new movie, my documentary that I'll film.
Okay.
Yeah, Breaking Chipmunks. There'll be 3 people that'll see it, I'm sure.
You sound like an old grandfather.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be training a chipmunk.
Training chipmunks, that's right. Just
throwing peanuts at it.
Throwing peanuts. Be me and the chipmunks looking at eclipses. There's actually a funny, if you ever look at the website FARC.
Okay.
Which, by the way, if you ever wonder if it's not you wonderful listeners that are sending me stories for Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals, FARC has a lot of them. Mm-hmm. If you ever want to go down the rabbit hole of interesting stories, FARC.com, FARK.com has interesting stories. They found one of the more interesting stories on NPR.com, which was, do your animals actually need glasses to watch the eclipse?
Oh.
There's a reason, folks, why animals run during an eclipse. I think it's because they can't look at it. That's not me as a science expert saying that, but I think it's because they're affected by the moon and the actual, energy of the moon. Mm-hmm. So they probably don't want to look at it anyways. But I can't imagine someone's dog sitting out in the yard going, look at that.
Mine just slept through it.
Yeah. I think they probably got to run, you know. They're probably not sitting around going, Jesus, will you look at that? You know. But if they could, I would think someone's got to make little tiny glasses for them. But in the article, Mal, what I'm trying to get at is there was the cutest little picture of this little puppy wearing little 3D glasses. It was just the cutest little thing.
Oh,
yeah. And that brings me to this question: would you ever put little glasses on your pups to watch the eclipse?
no. They would probably shake them off.
No, they'll burn their little retinas.
My dogs are inside dogs. They're not big fans of outside.
They're not. Well, don't they have to go to the bathroom out there?
Well, yeah, but I don't know. They do their business and come inside. Once in a while, they'll have a little argument with a squirrel or a rabbit, but...
Well, it's healthy, you know. You got to get an aggression out somewhere. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, every once in a while, I have an argument with a squirrel or a rabbit. So, and hey...
They're bossy.
Oh, yeah, they are. Yeah.
The squirrels are, at least.
I've got Arnold Squirrelsinator is back this year, too, in case anybody was wondering about him. He's a little more flabby. He's had the winter off. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, but he's still got some biceps. Have you ever seen the video of Arnold Squirrelsinator? No?
I feel like we're old because we're talking about this.
Mally, when we're off the air, I will send you the video of Arnold Squirrelsinator.
I'm okay.
Arnold Squirrelsinator has the biggest buys, tries, and lats you've ever seen on a squirrel. You'll be amazed. I think this squirrel is shooting steroids.
Okay.
The listeners know what I'm talking about. I've talked about Arnold on the show. You can hear him as he's eating nuts going, "This is for me. I love this. This is very good." He's one of the biggest squirrels you've ever seen in your life. You will shit bricks laughing watching him eat nuts. He looks like the Terminator version of Arnold because he eats very robotically. There's a lot of silence right now. I know you're thinking I'm losing my mind over here in Minnesota, but maybe I've spent too much time outside in the sun.
I think you did look up at the eclipse because you're weird right now.
I think I did. I lost my mind in the eclipse today. Well, with that, let's just preview what's going on for the rest of the week, and we'll leave people for today. On the big show tomorrow, of course, Supernatural News. Jessica Freeberg will be in. And then on Thursday, an old favorite of ours, an old friend of ours, Dacre Stoker. Great-grandson.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Great-grandson of Bram Stoker will be with us. There's a brand new Dracula project out there.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I'll just tease it at that. And you can get involved. So we'll talk about that on Thursday. It's really exciting, too.
Mm-hmm. I liked him. He was very nice.
He is. He's a great guy. Very intriguing man. So we'll talk about that on Thursday. Dacre Stoker will be with us on Thursday. We're talking Dracula.
Very cool.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So that's it. That's it for Dumb Crimes, Stupid Criminals, and True Crime Tuesday for today. Again, A Killing on the Hill. Pick it up. The link is in the description of this program. For Mally Fox, I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for listening to True Crime Tuesday.